Welcome to Phoenix and Flame, pushing through and transforming even when you feel like a pile of ash.
This podcast is not intended for use as psychotherapy. If you feel you are in crisis, please call 911 or contact your local crisis hotline. Welcome to Phoenix and Flame. I'm Dana, and this is my podcast on pushing through and transforming even when you feel like a pile of ash. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. I'm glad we're back together again. If this is the first time you have listened to one of my episodes, then welcome aboard. I certainly hope that we'll talk about something during this episode that will be helpful to you. Now, last episode, I talked about an intriguing concept called the Martha syndrome. Now, for those who haven't heard the last episode, the Martha syndrome was named for Martha of Bethany, as described in the Bible. It happens to be the 10th chapter of Luke, verses 38 through 42. Now, as I said before, I was raised a Christian, and so I'm very familiar with the story. And I had two aunts. They both since deceased, but my dad had two sisters who were twins, and their names are Martha and Mary. So I felt kind of an attachment to this particular story. But I'm going to go ahead and read what the story says. I could tell you just ad-libbing here, but it just sounds so much better coming out of the scripture. So this is the New International Version. You can really listen through a number of versions, but this is what I'm using right now. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." Now, the Martha syndrome has been broken down basically into two parts. I covered the first part in the last episode. That was the need to be constantly busy. The second part, what we're going to cover today, is anxiety about getting everything done. Okay? Now, I have to admit, I include myself in this particular category. Now, I was not really included in the first part, the need to be constantly busy. That does not apply to me. Maybe it should more, but it doesn't. But this one, the anxiety about getting everything done, I definitely fall in this category on some level. You know, I would like to say that I'm just mindful all the time, and I just float along, enjoying my journey, but that would be a total lie. I'm sort of a type A minus, maybe A minus, somewhere around there, and I can be intense, pushy, and a road bully. Don't judge me. I mean, really, aren't we all a work in progress? And if I have ridden your bumper because you were going 10 miles an hour below the speed limit in the passing lane, then I apologize. Now, sidebar, those who know me understand that I have to stop talking about traffic right now, or I will be here for hours, and I will end up needing Advil. I do have a humorous blog. I mentioned it in the last episode, I think, about my traffic issues. The blog is on my webpage, phoenixandflame.com. You can read it if you want to. It's kind of funny about my traffic issues. It's just, we just have to accept some things about ourselves. I'm working on it. Okay. It's a hard thing to work on. Now, back to the topic. Now, since I'm being all self-disclosive here, I do not like things piling up in my inbox. I don't like seeing those numbers on the upper right corner of my iPhone apps indicating that there's some item waiting for my attention. Is it fear? I don't know. Is it maybe a fear of things building up? Like I feel like I'm juggling 10 balls and that 7 more are going to be thrown at me and just kind of thrown in until I have that feeling of just being sucked down the drain. So maybe you're like me or maybe you're not. Or maybe you're an expert juggler. Or maybe you have 6 arms. I don't know. But I do struggle with, just wanting to get everything done. Anxiety about getting it done rather than just enjoying the journey. And I'm better than I used to be. I have kind of a current example. There's a local TV station here. For those that happen to be listening that are in my area, WJHL is the TV station. And there is a segment on there called Daytime Tri-Cities. And Amy Lynn is the one that oversees that. And she frequently will contact me and ask me to join her to do a segment on various topics regarding emotional, psychological issues. And she's contacted me again, and by the time this particular episode airs, more than likely I will have already been on the show and whatever. I think it's maybe the 6th time that she's asked me on there. So I think we get along, I think maybe she's comfortable with me. But actually what she wanted to talk about this time was I did an episode several months ago, I think probably now. Time kind of gets away from me, but on boundaries and social media. And she listened to it and she wanted to put it on the TV show, doing a segment on that. And so that's what we're going to do. And so right now that's coming up. I haven't done it yet. And I would really, really like to be able to just enjoy doing those kinds of things instead of wanting it to be over with. Because, life goes by so fast. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe. I'm 54 right now. I have a child who's 28 and one who's 25 and one that's 20. And what the hell? I mean, didn't I just graduate college last month? How did that even happen? I mean, our life is going by so fast. And so I feel like it's definitely in our best interest to learn how to just enjoy the journey more instead of having this anxiety that we got to get it done, got to get it done, got to get it done, got to get it done. And then we're always kind of thinking in the future, like, I'll be able to relax when I get this done. Well, I mean, if that's the case, then we're going to forever be tense. We're going to be forever anxious because there's always going to be something else. I mean, what we're actually talking about is that damn to-do list. You know what I'm saying? I mean, here's something I learned. That list never ends, no matter how fast you work. As you're completing one task, at least one more is being added to the bottom. I actually remember where I was standing when I realized that you don't ever finish it. Because I thought you did. I thought if you worked hard enough, then you actually finished your list. And when you finish your list, then you can relax. Well, that moment when I realized that you don't ever finish your list, I'm pretty sure the earth shifted on its axis that day. Pretty sure it did. Another thing I've learned is how to set boundaries and say no to people wanting me to do things. So if you have anxiety about getting everything done and you're a people pleaser, well, you're just kind of up shit creek. I'm not going to lie. Because other people seem to frequently have things that they want you to do. And if you can't say no, then your to-do list will wrap all the way around your house. twice. Now, if you haven't listened to my episodes on boundaries, which are the first 4 episodes of my podcast, I highly recommend that you do, because boundaries will save your life on numerous levels. Boundaries is basically understanding 2 things. To put it very, very, very simply, what belongs to you to manage and what does not. And being able to live your life that way helps an awful lot. And also mindfulness. I've done a few episodes on being mindful, and that is something I'm trying more and more to do. I'm learning to try and just go with the flow and enjoy the journey rather than waiting until all the tasks are done to have any peace. Because if we put off feeling peace and contentment until all of our tasks are done, then we're going to live our whole lives just in an anxious mess. No, thank you. I do not want to do that. It's much easier, well, I don't say that, that's not really true. It's much better to try to be mindful, just be in the moment, and using your senses to anchor you into the moment. And also, I have gotten old enough in my life to realize, time goes so fast. Just relax. It's going to be okay. I mean, you're going to get through it. You're going to get things done. And if you don't, you don't. But tying yourself all up in knots about stuff isn't going to help. And now as I'm talking, I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if it was the last episode or 2 episodes ago, but I was talking about the 2 questions that you apply to your line of thinking to determine if it's a healthy line of thinking regarding anxiety. One of the questions is my line of thinking helping the situation? Number 2, is my line of thinking helping me? Is it calming me down? Is it strengthening me to deal with whatever the situation is? If the answer to both of those questions is no, then the line of thinking isn't particularly healthy, not something that we should actively pursue. So I think that I'm going to try, when the day comes to drive down to WJHL and park my car and walk in that doorway in their little, I guess you would call it a green room. It's not really green. Their room's not green. But that's what, everybody knows what a green room is. It's where you stay before you go on to do some kind of television spot. And when they come in to give me my mic that I have to wire it up underneath my shirt and clip it to my top and all that kind of stuff. And then you go out and you have to get situated on the couch and all that kind of thing. It's just to enjoy it. Instead of saying, I'm going to be a nervous wreck and when I'm finally done with all this, I can relax. No, I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm just going to enjoy the whole thing. Because if we keep putting off, like I said a few minutes ago, if we keep putting off our relaxation and our enjoyment of something until after it's done, then your life is not going to be full of much joy and peace. It's going to be full of tension and fear and anxiety. And then one day, here sooner probably than you realize, your days are going to be over. I want to enjoy my life here. I want to enjoy it and not have to feel like, I'm constantly anxious, trying to get everything done. So I guess in the end of the day, we all need to try to be more like Mary. Realize what really matters. And as in the scripture, it says it really boils down to a few things or one thing. And don't get too caught up in all the ever-present tasks, because there's always going to be something to do. There's always going to be grass to mow. There's always going to be clothes to wash. There's always going to be meals to cook. There's always going to be dishes to wash. There's always going to be, homework to do, and then your kids launch and you don't have kids at home anymore. But then, with your extra time, then you maybe join a book club or something, and there's going to be books to read. Or, you volunteer or something. There's volunteer stuff to do. There's always stuff to do, which in a way, that's a good thing. You want to have your life filled with things to do. I mean, what if you had absolutely nothing to do? What if your to-do list was blank? Day after day after day, nothing. That spells depression. So we want to be thankful, getting back to our gratitude point that I made earlier in another episode, grateful that we do have things to do, grateful that we're able to do them. We just have to be a little more balanced. Instead of getting in some crazy, anxiety-ridden snit to get all of it done and tell ourselves we can't really calm down and relax until it's all done. No, that's out of balance. Rein that in a little bit. Identify what are those few things that really matter, or the one thing that matters the most. Spend some time. Go on your date. Go on a picnic. Go to a concert. Go on your girls' night out. Enjoy it. The tasks will be there when you come back. There's really no need to carry around anxiety about getting everything done, because it's not about the finish line. It's about the journey. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the tasks. Let yourself relax and experience the tasks instead of feeling like for some reason your peace and contentment and relaxation is held back until you finish everything. That's not a healthy way of viewing it. And I'm speaking to myself as much as I am to anybody else that's listening. Because on some level, aren't we all in this together? We might be different people with different personalities and different backgrounds, but I think we will find, and I have found, because I get to listen to a lot of stories in my practice, that we have many more commonalities than we do differences. So I hope, as you've listened to this episode today, that there's been something in it that has helped you. Or maybe you know of someone that could really benefit from listening to the episode. I would really appreciate you sharing my podcast, Phoenix and Flame, with others. Put it on your social media platforms. Just throw it out there. If you want to go to my website, which is simply phoenixandflame.com, there is a place where you can contact me if you would like to make a comment or ask questions, or if you have an episode that you would like to hear me do. You can leave that as well. So this is Dana on Phoenix and Flame, and I hope that you have a super rest of your day.